Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, as we are studying together Parashat Noach. Today's class is dedicated anonymously for the Refuah Shlema, for the success, for the Hatzlacha of all of Am Yisrael. We should see Yeshuot, Besorot Tovot, for all the soldiers, for all the hostages, for all of the cholim, all the sick, and we should see Geula Kirova, Shelema, full redemption for Am Yisrael. Amen. Amen. My friends, I would like to study with you today interesting passage in Parashat Noach, in the aftermath of the flood, right after Noach comes out of the ark. Pasuk tells us, "Vayachel Noach isha adama vayita karim." The pasuk says that Noach was a farmer, and he decided as he comes out of the ark, he's going to. By the way, you should know why his name was Noach. Why was his name Noach? Because Noach means comfort, and he brought a certain amount of comfort to the agricultural world. When he came out, he created certain inventions that were, revolutionary as far as, how to plant and agriculture and plowing. He created tools that allowed him to really take it to the next level, inventions, if you will. Noach was an inventor in agricultural tools, okay? Home Depot. And that's why they called him Noach. So it makes sense that as he comes out of the ark, the first thing he does is he plants. And the Torah tells us that he decides to plant Vayita Karim. Okay, he plants a vineyard, which makes sense. You want to get a little bit of, drunk, inebriated. People get drunk for much smaller things. So to see the whole world dead is a fair reason to decide to want to get drunk. But that's what he does. And of course, our rabbis criticize Noach for this. But I don't want to go into that right now. What I want to talk about is the pasuk, the story that follows afterwards. Take a look, my friends. Vayesh min hayayin, so he drinks wine, vayishkar, and he gets drunk. Vayigdgal betoch aholo, and he winds up naked in his tent. Okay, Noach is unclothed in his tent. Vayar Ham avi Canaan et ervat aviv. Ham, the father of Canaan, Ham is one of the three sons of Noach. Ham sees his father naked. Vayaged l'shnei echav v'chutz, and he tells his brothers, "Hey guys, come look what I saw. Dad is without clothes on." Okay. Well, the two other brothers, Shem and Yafet, hear about this. What do they do? What is their response? They do the moral thing, the correct thing. Vayikach Shem v'Yafet et hasimla. They take a shirt, a robe, a cloth, a blanket. Vayasimu al shchem shneim, and they put it on their shoulder, on their back. Vayilchu achorani, they start walking backwards. Vayichasu et ervat avihim, and they cover their father. Ufnehem achoranit. Now you should know that their face was turned away. Ve'ervat avihem lo ra'u, and they didn't see their father's nakedness. Now right away, we always know when we learn Chumash, when we were taught always to notice superfluous language, psukim, verses, words, unnecessary extra words. Torah is not a history book. Torah does not need to fill up. When we wrote a book report, we had to write a certain amount of characters, a certain amount of words, sentences. And we had to make sure sometimes we threw in a lot of fluff and synonyms and different ways of saying the same exact thing, which is what I'm doing right now. And the Torah did that in order, we used to do that in a book report in order to fill the capacity of how much words were required. The Torah does no such thing ever. Torah is not interested in taking up space and wasting anyone's time. And anytime the Torah writes something, if it could have written it in a shorter way, it will. It will, unless there's a reason. Rabbi Beryl Wine says a story of a rabbi who gets up on the night of Yom Kippur and he delivers his best speech ever. A lot of communities, people come once a year, Yom Kippur. And as a rabbi, you have to try to give your best goods to try to attract and create, interest to come. For the rest of the year, you're trying to hook people to come more than just once a year, and you deliver your best speech. And anyways, this guy, he gets up, this rabbi, and he gives his best speech on Yom Kippur night. And there was one guy who was there listening, who was very intrigued, and he was a news anchor. So he comes over after the services, and everyone's shaking the rabbi's hand, Chag Sameach. And this one guy comes and he introduces himself. He says, "Rabbi, my name is so-and-so, and I work for this news broadcasting station. And I heard your speech, Rabbi. It was very nice. And I was just thinking, would you be able to give that 10-minute speech in 3 minutes?" And the rabbi's eyes open up wide, and he starts dreaming, and he starts realizing what opportunity this is. Oh my goodness, that I'm going to be one day maybe on broadcast television. Wow. And he starts thinking, and he realizes that this is a huge opportunity. He could give this message to the world. And he looks at this news anchor, and he says, yes, I can. I could give it in 3 minutes. And the news anchor looks, and he says, so Rabbi, why didn't you? Okay? So when the Torah is able to be brief, it will be. And here, if we pay attention, we'll find that there's so many extra phrases. Look at this. Vayilchu ahoranit. What does that mean? They went backwards. Okay, that's fair. I accept. They went holding the blanket backwards. Good. But then, the next words, ufnehem ahoranit. And they were looking away. That is so unnecessary. Why does Torah have to tell me this? Ufnehem ahoranit. Right? Obviously, if they're walking backwards, they're looking away. It would be very silly if they were walking backwards and they were peeking the whole time, you know? What are you doing? You're walking backwards so that you don't look. So if you're walking backwards, obviously your face, it would have been enough. If the Torah just said they were walking backwards, I think we would have all concluded that they were walking backwards to not see, to not look. Their faces were away. Rashi answers this question. Rashi says, why does it say ufnehem ahoranit? Lama ne'emar pam shniya. What does it say the second time? You already told me they were backwards. Why do you tell me their faces also turned away? But he says, no. As they got closer, they had to turn to cover him. But here, even still, they didn't turn to cover him and look. But as they turned to cover him, they stayed looking away. So they turned their body, but they stayed looking in the opposite direction. Okay? That is what Rashi says. But my friends, still this does not suffice. Why? Because what are the next words? Ve'ervat avihem lo ra'u. And they did not see their father's nakedness. Again, it seems so unnecessary. I get the point. They're going backwards. Their faces turned. All of that so that they shouldn't see. And still the Torah has to come and tell me that they didn't see. Ve'ervat avihem lo ra'u. And I want to share with you, my friends, a beautiful answer from Rabbi Jacobson that he brings based on the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. You know, the Baal Shem Tov, he said something one time that's very deep and profound, but it needs to be understood. And the Baal Shem Tov said that the world is a mirror. You know, in life, it's hard for us to see our own flaws. The Mishnah says, "En adam ro'eh nig'ei atzmo." You know, a person had leprosy, they would have a certain white discoloration on their skin, and you go to a kohen and he checks it and he sees, is this leprosy, is it not? Right? That's called a nega, blemish. The Mishnah says, on a halachic level, "En adam ro'eh nig'ei atzmo." You're not allowed to diagnose your own blemish. You can't look and decide for yourself on yourself. If you're a kohen, even if you know all the laws, you're not allowed to decide on your own. You gotta ask another kohen. Okay? En adam ro'eh nig'ei atzmo. You're not allowed to diagnose your own leprosy. But the rabbis teach us that it's also referring to a not just a halachic level, but even on a personal level. A person is not allowed. A person is incapable of seeing his own blemish. In life, we see ourselves least, right? At least that's how it's supposed to be. You know, today, unfortunately, we see ourselves most. We're always taking selfies. It used to be the pictures that we took were of other people, of other things, of the world. We used to take a picture of other things. We used to look out into the world. Today, all the pictures of ourselves. When you look at a photo, you look at yourself and you see how do you look in that picture, right? That's what it became today. Now, of course, it makes sense why there's such an obsession with ourselves. Why we're only thinking about ourselves. This is the world that our children are being raised in. That instead of taking photos, they're taking selfies. Okay? They're just looking at themselves, thinking about themselves. Right? But really in life, we don't usually see ourselves. You go around, you see other people. And it's very hard to therefore know, right? Where do I need to improve? Where do I need to grow? I mean, think about it. Are you perfect? Are we perfect? We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll know right away that there's a lot of work that you need to do. In your marriage, in your parenting, in your relationship with Hashem, with your employees, with your friends, with your chesed, right? But the problem is, en adam ro'eh nig'ei atzmo, a person is incapable of seeing his own flaws. We just can't. We don't see in life where we are lacking. We see other people, and it's very easy for us to see where other people are lacking, right? Oh, this person, they speak so much gossip. That person, they're so unfaithful. That person, they're not religious. That person, they're so rude, right? It's very easy for us to see, right? Even like, a guy could come late to shul, and then a guy walks in a minute after him, and he'll look at this other guy. Why are you late to shul? What are you talking about? You came a minute before me. You're also late. We're both late. But we don't see how we're late. We see how the other person's late. This is a rule in life that it's hard for us to see, to be honest with ourselves, and to see where we need to improve. So what is the solution? What do we do? The Baal Shem Tov said, therefore, you have to realize that the world's a mirror. And Hashem gave us a gift of being able to see other people. Because really, when I see you, and I see a flaw in you, that's Hashem's way of showing me a flaw in me. Okay? So, Kol ha-posel bemumo posel, our rabbis tell us. Whoever invalidates is really invalidating themselves. If I see in a person someone who is crooked, I need to realize that me, myself, I'm crooked. If I see in another person someone who's lying, I see in myself someone who's lying. Right? It takes one to know one. You see someone in shul whispering to another guy right next to them. What do you think they're whispering about? Oh, they're for sure whispering. They're talking about me. If that's where your brain went, then that's telling you something. That's telling you that if you were whispering about somebody, if you were whispering to somebody, it would be about other people. Wherever your head went about what they're doing, realize that that's a mirror. Actually, you just revealed to yourself a little bit about yourself, which is a big gift. Because or else we can't grow in life. Or else if I can't see me, how am I going to change? So it's a big bracha. It's a gift. It's a mirror that I can now look. If you're walking in the street and you have a little bit of ketchup or mustard, you can't see it because you don't know. You can't see yourself. Your eyes were put in a place that you're never meant to look at yourself. Really, we were meant to look at the world, at people, and see their problems, their pain, help them with what they're going through. But that means that also I can't see me. If I have a little bit of mustard, how am I going to see it? But if I walk in front of a mirror, I could see, a little mustard, yeah. All right? I can remove the dirt. I can remove the dirt because I have a mirror. But that's true not only physical dirt, it's true with emotional dirt. It's true with who I am. When I have a mirror, but the problem is that we don't have mirrors today that could allow me to see my inner self. They don't have that yet. Maybe one day they'll come out with 3D mirrors. But for now, we can't see inside ourselves, right? So Hashem gave us other people. When I see someone else and I see what they're going through, if I see my wife that she's lazy, really that's God's way of telling me I'm lazy. If I see my kids are wasting time, lax, not doing anything productive, I need to realize that that's me. Me, really, I'm unproductive. I'm not being productive enough. When I see it in someone else, that's me detecting in myself. If I see two guys whispering and I think, oh, they're probably talking about football, why'd you think that? Maybe a part of you likes talking about football too much or whatever. Again, you understand the point? This is what the Baal Shem Tov said, that in life, it takes one to know one. And what you see is what you really are. It's life. All of life is a mirror. But my friends, this really needs to be understood because if you think about it, it sounds like a nice idea, but is it accurate? I mean, let me ask you a question. I see a guy who's cheating in business. I have a partner. The guy's a thief. I see a thief. So what is God? Does that mean God's telling me I'm a thief? Is it impossible for me to see bad unless I'm also bad? Right now we see people killing people. Does that mean I'm a murderer just because I saw it? Everyone that's doing something, that means I have it? Really, am I supposed to go through life in La La Land, covering my eyes, thinking everyone's a tzaddik? If I see this guy doing something wrong, I'm supposed to be to a stupid level, giving him the benefit of the doubt? If I see a guy, really, is that the tzaddikim? If the tzaddikim saw a guy abusing his wife or abusing his kids, is it tzaddik someone who says, oh, look, he's just tapping her with love. He's not really hitting her. Look how much he loves her. Really? Am I supposed to be naive? I call that naive. But is that what the Baal Shem Tov is saying? That unless you're naive, if you see bad, that means you're bad, so I'm supposed to be naive? What's the alternative? Isn't there a mitzvah of hocheach tochiach et amitecha? Isn't there a commandment of rebuking my fellow Jew? That means that if I'm rebuking you, that means that you're doing something wrong. So the Torah itself is saying that there will be cases that you'll see someone doing something wrong. So does that mean that anytime I see someone doing something wrong, that means I'm doing something wrong? Is it impossible for me to just call a spade and to see truth for how it really is? Why does it have to be that every time I call out evil, that it means it's a mirror that I'm evil? Really? I mean, you have people today saying actually that no, what Hamas is doing is really, it's fine because they're just victims, they're hurt, this is the only way they know how. I mean, people are doing that today. They're nuts, they're out of their mind. They're evil, they're wicked. Is that what the Torah wants from me and you? That we should just go around saying everyone's a tzaddik, everyone's fine? And if I finally call you out for being evil, and if I label you, if I say something about you, that makes me a bad person now? And that's really revealing to me something in myself? Right? What exactly does the Baal Shem Tov mean by this statement? But what I think he means, something very deep, very beautiful. Rabbi Jacobson explains as follows. It gives a scenario. Imagine you have two guys in the office, and they see the third guy, they see a friend who's cheating. There are two ways to respond to this. One guy responds and says, wow, what a cheater, what a thief, what a filthy guy. And he goes around telling everyone about it. This guy, we got to get rid of him. He's a crook. How dare he? Can't stop talking about the guy, right? The other friend who also sees this guy cheating, he reacts very differently. He doesn't go around spreading it. He says, it's a shame that this guy is stealing. We've got to figure out why is he doing that? What's the problem? Who do I tell about this? Maybe we could get a rabbi involved. Maybe you could get a therapist involved. Maybe we could get somebody involved to help the situation. But this is a problem. This is a problem that I have to figure out. How can I help this guy with this problem? These are the two different responses. Notice how they're very different. The first guy is labeling and knocking. The second guy is offering, he's trying to think of how can I help the situation. Two husbands, another scenario. Two husbands, they want to invite guests for Shabbat. Both of their wives, same reaction. No, I don't want to have guests for Shabbat. It's too many guests, and they come, and I'm not such a good cook anyways, and every time I make myself look like a fool. The food comes out horrible. The challah's not good. The salads are not good. The meat comes out burned. Everything is just bad. I don't want to have guests. I can't. It's too much for me. Too much for me. Too much for me. Husband number one, I don't understand. Why is she so insecure? What's gotten into her? What's the problem? She's struggling with confidence. I wonder, maybe her parents maybe did this to her when she was a kid. Why is she like this? And just, all upset. Second husband, his response is, I wonder, why is my wife doing that? Why is she insecure? Is there something that I could do? How could I help? Right? How could I, make a change? Right? This is very different reaction than a guy who just is knocking and labeling. You understand? So, why is it that husband A responded the way he did and husband B responded the way he did? Why is it that the first guy in the office responded the way he did and the second guy responded the way he did? And it could be, my friends, that the difference comes down, and this is what the Baal Shem Tov is saying. Baal Shem Tov is saying that if in life, my friends, we see in someone, look at this very nuanced point. If you see in a guy who's stealing, right? Someone's stealing, right? It's a problem. But sometimes, if you have a theft flaw in you, then that guy stealing actually triggers something in yourself. When you see that guy stealing, it starts bringing to the fore all of our own insecurities of our own theft, of how we actually have this problem. And what that does, it's actually very frightening, because it's not just you that steals. I realize, oh my God, I'm also a thief. I also steal. But that makes us feel very uncomfortable. I don't like to think of myself as a thief, because a thief is someone bad, and I don't want to think of myself as someone bad. I always thought I'm a good guy. So what do? We immediately deflect. We flip the script, and instead of talking about me, I need to start talking about you being a thief and how horrible you are. You understand? The other guy, he himself, when he saw a guy stealing, that didn't trigger anything in him, because he's not a thief. So he just saw a problem, and he said, okay, Hazi, the guy has a problem. What can we do to help? You understand? The husband that his wife is all insecure, really, he himself is insecure. He himself has, insecurities about his social status. Now, his wife deals with it one way, by avoiding people. He deals with it in another way, by inviting everyone. And he hopes that he could cover up, and that will give him, everyone, saying, oh, what a meal, thank you for having us. And that'll give him a certain sense of, feeling of, that he's this social butterfly and that he's a popular guy, etc., etc., etc. You understand? So the way he reacts and he responds with his wife's insecurity, it's really revealing to him his own. And it makes him feel uncomfortable, because he knows that there's a little bit of me that's also insecure, not just my wife. But he wants to avoid it. It's called deflection. So instead, what do? We escape our own feelings, and we just constantly berate and attack our spouse's feelings and what they did. Why are you so insecure? The other husband, he doesn't feel that. He doesn't care. He doesn't have that issue. So he thinks, how can I help my wife? Hazita, she's going through a problem. You understand? This is what the Baal Shem Tov is saying. Not when you see a flaw, that means you have it. But when you see a flaw, and the way you react to that problem is by knocking and attacking, and then you have to constantly mention, why are you doing that? The reason you're doing that is, Baal Shem Tov saying, realize now that you actually have a little bit in that in you. And the reason you feel the need to shift all of the attention to this guy, and to attack him, and to knock him, and to talk about him constantly, is because you're trying to shift the attention from you to him. And you want to hope that no one, even you yourself, don't notice your own flaw in that area. And if you could talk about this person nonstop, then you'll never have to look into yourself and talk about yourself. You understand? This is what the Baal Shem Tov was saying. Very deep concept. Very powerful idea. Very powerful idea. It's not that if I see evil, it means I'm evil. But it's asking myself, how do I respond to the things around me that are evil? What's my response? If my response is anger, if my response is frustration, that's telling. That's telling me that there's something maybe in me that has that. And I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed, I'm angry, because actually I realize my own flaw. This is showing me. A lot of times as parents, we have our children that they misbehave, they act up. And a lot of times you'll see parents, when a kid starts misbehaving, maybe irresponsibly or childish, what you'll see is a lot of times parents end up becoming more childish than the kid. And they'll start yelling at the kid, hey, sit down, what are you doing? You're gonna make a thing. They start yelling at the kids, and they start making a whole commotion. And for a kid who's 6, it's age appropriate. You're 36, it's not age appropriate for you to act like that. But they act like that. You know why? Why as parents sometimes do we start acting as bigger babies than the baby? But why? Right? 2 kids, they hit each other. Okay, it's normal, kids to hit. It's age appropriate. Depending on the age, right? They have to be taught that you don't hit, you don't use your hands. But what happens is sometimes then you see the parent start hitting the kid, or start, being abusive to the kid. I said, and who walks away looking like the baby? The parent. You made a bigger fool of yourself. Your kid in sports, he didn't pass the ball. He wasn't being a team player. Okay, he's a kid. Then the dad comes on the court and he starts yelling at the kid. If you do that one more time, I'm going to take you off the team. The dad looks like a bigger baby than the kid. Right? And why do we do that as parents? But we do that because we realize that actually my kid is a reflection of me. And it hurts us that there's a little bit of truth that we see when we see our kid misbehaving. We realize that that's actually something that I do. When we see our kid wasting time on the TV, we realize that's something that I do. When we see our children using fresh language, we realize that's maybe something that I do. But instead of us confronting ourselves, we decide to just throw all the attack and blame on our children. How dare you talk like that? Don't ever be disrespectful, because subconsciously we know that if I could just constantly focus the camera on you, then no one will look at me, including myself. I don't want to look at me. It's hard to look at me. It's hard to be honest, confront my flaws. And so this is what the Baal Shem Tov is saying. That how you respond to someone's flaws, someone's bad midot, how do you respond to the evil going on around you, is very telling to you. If it makes you angry and frustrated, ask yourself why. Really, if you see someone misbehaving, you should be filled with curiosity. You should ask yourself, how could I help? What could I do to help my wife? Maybe I could cook. Maybe I could buy some food. Maybe if the problem is this, I could do something to help make, the day go faster, right? What could I do? That's the question I need to be asking myself. But if I'm attacking, then that's telling me that if I'm attacking, maybe there's a reason I'm attacking. Maybe because it triggered something in my subconscious about myself that I usually don't notice. That's what the Baal Shem Tov is saying. That when you see a flaw, realize the world is a mirror, and you should be looking at yourself. Now we come back. Everything that we just said is really summarized in these words. The Torah tells us that Ham saw his father naked. And what was his reaction? What was Ham's reaction? Ham said, oh my God, Dad's naked. Boys, brother, Shem, Yafet, come see, Dad's naked. Oh my God. Right? Why does he do that? He's not a little kid. He's a big boy, right? 100 years old, I don't know how old is he, right? He's a big boy. Why is he doing that? Why is he reacting like that? But the answer is because Ham, if we know anything about Ham himself was a little bit of a pervert. Ham himself was the only guy that was intimate on the ark. Remember? Ham, God says no intimacy. We had a class about the raven. Now the truth is, you should know that all of the animals that came onto the ark, why did all the other animals get destroyed? Why is it fair to kill animals? What did they do? But the pasuk is very clear. But the shachet haaretz, even the animal kingdom became corrupt. It wasn't only people that were corrupt, intercourse, intermating. Even the animals, one species with another. And why is that? Because man, we have to realize we have the power to impact the animal kingdom, the world around us. When man becomes corrupt, the animal kingdom becomes corrupt. So and it trickles down. So when mankind was corrupt, all of the animals became corrupt. You understand? That's how it is. Now, if Noach wasn't corrupt, that means that there's a part of the animal kingdom, there's a percentage that remains uncorrupted, that remains loyal. Because if man affects the animal kingdom, each guy has his animal, so to speak. So our rabbis tell us that the animals that came on the ship, the two of each species, those were Noach's personal animals. And because he remained uncorrupt, they remained uncorrupt. You understand? And they all came on the ship, B'schut Noach, because he remained faithful, they remained faithful, so now they didn't deserve to die. So always, that's how it is. Man affects the animal kingdom. If the raven was intimate, if the raven on the ship, on the boat, was intimate, then it has to be that there was a human that was intimate, that created that effect on the animal kingdom. And our rabbis tell us that was Ham. Ham violated the commandment of abstaining from his wife. He was with his own wife. And Ham, and different sources, but Ham ultimately was himself a little bit of a pervert. He was a little bit stuck in this area. And therefore, when he sees his father naked, what does that do to him? It reminds him of his own nakedness. It reminds him of his own past. It reminds him what he did on the ark. And he couldn't handle that. He couldn't live with himself knowing that everyone was able to abstain except for him, that he was that one pervert. He couldn't live with that. So you know what he does? He does what we all do. When we see an imperfection in somebody else that really triggers us, he points the finger out. And he says, oh my God, Noach, Dad, what's the matter with you? Right? Why does he do that? He does that because that's him. He himself was that. But he didn't want to talk about himself, so he spoke about other people. That's why we speak gossip. Why do we speak gossip about people? Because if I could talk gossip about you, and I could focus the attention on you and the spotlight on you, then no one will talk about me. So Ham spoke about his dad. So that's why he runs and he tells his brothers, guys, look at Dad. What a pervert. Because he's a pervert. Hashem and Yafet, the other two brothers, they saw their dad naked. It didn't trigger anything in them. They weren't like that. So they said, okay, dad's uncovered. What's the solution? What do we do about it? We don't talk about it. We don't have to spread gossip. A couple is struggling in Shalom Bayit. What do you do about it? Do you go around telling everyone how they're struggling? Oh my God, you heard? I heard they're getting divorced, right? Why are you doing that? Maybe because a little bit part of you feels bad about your own marriage, and you feel the need to now deflect the attention from how bad your marriage is and point it at other people's marriage and say, look how bad their marriage is. And it makes you feel good about your own horrible marriage. So Cham, because Cham was a pervert, so he speaks about his father. But Shem and Yafet, they didn't have any of that in them. They were fine. They didn't struggle with perversion. So what do? So if my father's unclothed, I gotta help him. What do? I gotta help my father. I gotta cover him. Take a blanket, give it to my dad, cover him up. Dad, do you want to see a therapist about this? Figure out, how can I help? You understand? That is how they responded. That's the right way to respond. But when my response is, pointing the finger out, that's what our rabbis are telling us. Ufne, right? Ve'arvat avihim lo ra'u. The brothers didn't see the nakedness of their dad. You know why? They didn't see someone naked. They saw someone that was struggling. They saw a problem. Okay, Dad, let's get you help. Let's get you therapy. Let's figure it out. We'll give you a blanket. But they didn't see his nakedness, as opposed to Cham. When he saw his dad, he saw someone naked. Why did he see that? Because really it was revealing something much deeper in himself. So we have to, this is a beautiful piece from the Baal Shem Tov. But really what we have to remember, my friends, is that when we blame other people for things, when we make fun of other people, when we talk about other people, really it's a way of reminding ourselves, maybe we're struggling in this area. Remember that for every finger pointed out, you have 3 pointing in. I love that one, right? Every time you point out a finger, really, there's 3 pointing into you. May Hashem help us to be able to see not only the flaws in other people, but more importantly, to see the good in other people, and to realize that when we do see flaws in other people, that's Hashem's way of allowing us to see where we struggle, and then by doing so, we're able to help all those around us and help ourselves, perfect and become the best versions of ourselves possible. Okay, we'll stop over here, everybody. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful Shabbat, and hopefully we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.